Good morning, and welcome to the Rick Helps Real Estate Show, where we're going to try a Q&A session this morning, because sometimes I feel like questions start rolling in and we're doing a show, like if I'm doing it Friday with Pat, or if I'm just, spouting off some stuff during the week, and sometimes I log off and I see there's a few questions still lingering out there. So this morning, this is your show with any questions you had, because it's certainly been a wild week, and we've already got a question here from Terry, which is interesting. He said, Rick, the inventory between 400 and 600,000 is exploding. I think they're being forced to sell for three reasons. He's talking about this. You can see this red arrow going up. It says here 3568, but this lags. They don't update this until later on this afternoon. We've actually got 4,250 homes. And in that price range, we have surpassed 2018 and 2019 levels. So, Pat, Terry, why is that? Because it's interesting to see what's going on in inventories in different price points right now. A lot of Tyler, this is a great idea for Saturday morning show here. Hey, thanks for chiming in, Tyler. I have, I get not really beat up, but Rick, I told you the market was going to crash, and here it is. I'm telling you that for 6 months. I pretty much stick to my guns that you can't have a crash until you have high inventory. And how high does that inventory have to be? Well, here's your answer. This is a demand index, and you can see here that demand supply was way up here and demand was way down here, hence the crash here in 2008. And we're not anywhere near that yet. Now these lines have to converge, so the blue line has to get above the red line before you even start seeing price reductions, and we're not there yet. So I'm just not going to predict a crash. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So B&G, glad to see all the inventory coming back, but the biggest gripe with me is affordability based on current rates. Makes it tough to buy, and that's why we're seeing this increase in inventory. We're seeing it because our sales have dipped. Not a lot, but down by about 11%. And you can see our sales month to date right here. This is May. It's going back each year. So we're at 82.85 for May. Last year we were at 92.17. 2020 we were at 67.30. There's 10, there's 9. So we're not really that far off. We're kind of right there with 2015 and 2016. So that part is not anything alarming. Terry says they have equity and they can't access it. Financials have changed. Credit's been damaged. 2, massive credit card buildup and credit canceled. And 3, can't keep up with inflation. I think that has a lot to do with it. There's 3 pillars out there right now that are killing us. And it's number 1, gas, number 2, food, and number 3, housing affordability. And, as long as these fuel prices remain out of control, it's going to be tough to unwind from this. How am I dealing with the heat out there? I hate it. I really do. When it gets above 110, I can't stand it. I went up to Prescott for a couple days just to try and get some, just some relaxation and relief in my travel trailer. And even up there, it was 97. It's not fun if you're going to somewhere to be out in the woods and you're sitting in a travel trailer with your RC running constantly. But it gets tough. Now we kind of start adjusting by the time we get to July, and I don't know if we just adjust to the heat or we just adjust by constantly complaining about it. So then we get the storms, and I noticed yesterday afternoon that the moisture is building up in the mountains outside of the valley here, and that means monsoon season may make an early visit. So let's hope. Just a reminder, press the like button. Thanks, Tobin. Yes, fire off those questions if you got any. So this week, especially yesterday, interest rates just absolutely spiked like crazy. And Terry says, I used to be positive, but honestly, this is going to be huge, at least a 20% correction. I've been positive too, but I think we've got a massive headwind against us. I hesitate to put a number on it, and I see a lot of YouTubers on here giving very specific numbers, 40%, 25%. Well, how do they arrive at that? Because it's really just a guess. There isn't any number out there that says that if we achieve this disparity, then our reduction will be here. So anytime you see we're going to be down 30%, 40%, look, they're just guessing. Even the question that says how do recessions affect home prices? There's no definitive data. because every recession has a different component to it. The dot-com crash, the recession in the 70s with the oil embargo, the recession in the 80s with interest rates spiking up, and that's what you need to follow now. Are we going to mirror 1980, 81? And but even with that, what happened to housing? Well, it depends on how many people were still forming households. So I wish there was a way that I could say, well, look, GDP went down 1.5% this quarter and 2% last quarter. Here's what that means. But I just can't do it. Tyler says, I feel for the people that used equity to buy 2 or 3 more houses and B&Bs and such. Fuel costs. Yeah, Airbnbs, that's going to be an interesting one to watch because there's 5,800 of them in Scottsdale alone. And, are people going to drive? Well, they're not going to drive out here in the summer anyway, so can't really watch that data. But what's it going to be like next year? Well, next year we're going to have a good January because we have the Super Bowl out here. So those Airbnbs, they're probably going to hang on to them. It's amazing how much money some of these people get. I went and looked at a home in Gilbert last Saturday about this time, about 10 o'clock, and they had a little casita in the back that was attached to the house, kind of behind the garage, and it was great. I mean, it was a beautiful little place. And they said they were getting $3,000 a month for this thing. And, but the hard part is if you live there and you're renting out that back area, that casita, they're sharing your swimming pool. And I don't know if I want to get that comfy. My brother's got an Airbnb at his place. It's kind of a daylight basement situation, a little apartment, 1 bedroom, got a kitchen and bathroom. And they have access to the backyard, the outside where he's got a fire pit and anything. But he pretty much keeps his distance. I mean, he might wave to him when he's upstairs, with his barbecue. But he doesn't have to mingle with him. I don't think I could mingle with people in my swimming pool. Just saying. But there's also a lot of cities that want to clamp down on Airbnbs. Take a close eye on San Diego right now. They're really clamping down hard, except for Pacific Beach. And they're trying to do it in Sedona, so it's in the discussion situation. Terry says, I can't see that. What? Make it females. He's poking funk. Is Jackie's here? Jackie, welcome. Many past clients are suddenly contacting us, asking us if they should list. I wonder what people would think of our market if it was all reversed and had gone from a normal 25,000 listing to only 12. Well, when that happened, they kind of sat on their hands. I think the mentality is when things are going up, people are convinced it's going to continue to go up. Now when things are going down, people are convinced that it's going to get far worse. And my dad used to be a real estate broker, and he always said, I sold more houses when interest rates were going up than I ever did when they were going down, because when they're going down, people wait. Ooh, it's probably going to go down farther. Now that interest rates are spiking up, I think people are hurrying. I got a request this morning for a home evaluation. Basically it says if I need to net this amount, and if I don't net this amount, I'm not going to put it on the market. Can you let me know what the value is? And I can give an approximate range, so you have to be careful there. I can say, well, it falls between here and here, but the market value is whatever the buyers bring to you once you're listed. And thanks, Rollo. I appreciate that very much. So getting back to Jackie's point, I think we're not going to even see price reductions. We're seeing price reductions, asking price, but I don't think we're going to see actual closed sales being below last year until our inventory gets up over 25,000. And today we're at 11,380, I believe it is. So we're clipping up at a pretty good rate, but we're not there yet. And some of the things that are kind of, you want to look up and try to get some more detail, and you go to Federal Reserve and you look and it shows you the house price index. But the problem with this is March data. Well, it's June, so then that's not helping you, but it's showing where we were. And even when you get into some of the numbers here from Redfin, the median home sales price is up 15% year over year, and this is actually 4-week period ending June 5th. So the Redfin data is pretty close. Tyler says Zillow's increasing value, but very slight. Mine went up a couple, though, today. Real estate values don't go up on Monday and down on Tuesday, but they just have their algorithms just keep going, and it's all based on historical data. So your neighbor might have sold for 500,000 last month, but that contract was written the month before, and things have really changed past 5 weeks. So those decreases are not going to show up until probably July. But pending home sales are down 8% year over year, on par with decrease seen in May of 2020. New listings of homes for sale were down 1% a year earlier. Active listings fell 11%. Our active listings are up 92% versus last year. 36% of the homes went under contract had an accepted offer within 1 week, down from 38% a year earlier. So some of these numbers are showing that things are going pretty good. Jackie says, I think the rate of new listings will only last so long. It really seems it's the low end that's affected. High end is trucking way along still. It really is. The high end is going, but it kind of depends on the zip code too. There's one down in Chandler that's really nice, and they had it on the market for 88 days, and that's kind of odd, and that's especially with all the growth that's going on in Chandler. Homes that were sold on the market, record low median of 15 days, down from 18 days a day earlier. 56% of the homes sold above their list price. Let's take a look at that for us here, because I don't think that's changed that much. And we're waiting for the bidding wars to kind of skedaddle here, aren't we? And so the chart's certainly going in the right direction, but it has before. So we are sitting at 51%. We peaked out at 60%. You look down here by price range, and if you get in the high end here of 1 million, 40% of them are going over list. There's still a lot of bidding going on in the 300 to 400 range. That's because there's still much out there. Jackie, it's a medium-sized snowball at the top of a big hill. That remains to be seen. We'll see what happens. With all the new consumer spending and people putting themselves into more and more debt, do you see short sales spikes happening later this year? No, I don't. I don't see any short sales because people have way too much equity. Now, the number of people that are probably going to tap into their home to try and get some cash, I don't think is going to be large enough to throw them into a negative equity situation, at least not this year. And talks of a crash probably going to have to roll into 2023 if it happens. So the interesting thing that you can see now too is that when listings go up, we get more listings on there, the sales are actually kind of trying to follow them a little bit, even though the gap is really large. And like I have here, these are the number of listings coming on in a 7-day period. This is a blue line, and the red line is the number of under contract, and it's kind of creeped up a little bit. So it kind of tells me that there are buyers out there that really want to get into this market, but with the rates being where they're at and the prices, then they just have to step back and ignore it. Jackie says, I agree, normal seasonality effects, but they weren't affected last 2 years. Yeah, I don't think seasons count anymore. We pretty much wiped that out. The thing is that when 2020 came along, there went our spring selling season or spring buying season. It's toast. So you can't even compare anything to 2020. When I look at a graph, I go, oh, that's 2020. I'm going to ignore that. So it's safe to say the outliers like Buckeye and Maricopa will be the first to get to a balanced market. You are absolutely correct, and I'm going to show that to you, Tyler. I mean, you're spot on, because when we look at some of the daily observations here, look here. There's Maricopa with a Cromford index of 162, Queen Creek 164. That one surprises me. Buckeye 143. 100's a balanced market. Look how fast they went down. Queen Creek went down by 39% versus the week before. This is really a huge change. Can you give the total number of listings currently on the market in the Phoenix Valley? Yes, it's 11,000. Let's see. Let me look it up here. I got to get rid of this list price here. It is 11,395 active listings as of this morning, as of right now. So the 27,000 number that's considered normal, I don't know if that includes under contract accepting backup or not. Do you know, Jackie? But I just track active. And when we look at under contract accepting backups, if I take a look at the numbers here, I'm going to make a change to my chart here and try to show you some things. if buying timeline is flexible over the next 60 to 120 days, do you recommend buyers wait for prices to ease a bit? No. If you're in a position to buy, it's going to be a while for the actual sales prices to go down. The asking prices are going down, but I'm saying don't wait for the price to come to you. You should go to the price. So if you see a house you really want, but you think they're asking too much, don't be afraid to write that offer for the price that you want. In other words, don't wait for that house price to come to you. So by the time they lower that price where it's attractive to you, now it's going to be attractive to a lot more people. Bam, you're back into the bidding wars. I can't count the amount of times I hear at work in the break room about people pulling out equity of their homes at this moment. Yeah, that's a dangerous thing. But it depends on how much they pull out. Because if you put it in the bank, you're only going to get like 1%. So maybe they're pulling it out to pay off debt. If they're pulling it out to get hot tubs and fifth wheels, then that's a bad thing. Jackie, no, it doesn't only active, not even coming soon. Okay, that's good to know. So that shows you that 27,000, that's still a pretty steep climb. HELOCs are rising. Yep. B&G, I've been told there's a big increase in vehicle repos. Do you think that's a sign of something that could affect real estate? The vehicle repos, I think people stretched themselves out quite a bit, and the interest rate on cars were not as low as what you saw in real estate. So, I mean, I can't tell you how many $507 a month car payments I see with these young people that are out there. Nice cars. And, I mean, gosh, look at the price of a Tesla. I'm not buying one ever. I think it's crazy. I mean, I'm not dissing those of you that have one, but geez, what are they, $50,000, $60,000? But I don't think there's quite the correlation there. But look, if the economy contracts, and the Fed wants it to contract, make no doubt about it, but there's a disconnect because you also have the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, who used to be the president of the Federal Reserve, saying, we're not going to have a recession. And I just have to laugh at that. We contracted by 1.5% last quarter. Do any of you think this quarter got any better? Vacation rentals, lower size homes with little, no amenities are impacted, most with bookings slowing down noticeably. However, the larger vacation rentals, 5 minutes, are still booking strong. Well, that shows you that the lower ones, the family that gets in the car and off they go, they don't want to spend $300 in gas to get here and can't afford the Airbnb anymore. So that's going to be interesting to watch. That is an interesting one for sure. Now, if I go back to what I track and I show here pending is going up, but under contract accepting backups is going down. Contingency, and this is the one that counts in my book, contingencies are rising. That's where I'll buy your house, but I got to wait until I sell my house. In a brisk market, nobody will consider that. Say, why am I going to wait for you to sell your house? I got 5 people lined up that want mine now. So they're not going to do that. And so when you see contingencies start to come up, contingencies come up before homeowners lower their prices. Now, they are lowering their prices at a pretty good clip here. They're lowering at about $3,500. So do the math. We have like 11,000 homes on the market active. And in the past 7 days, over a 7-day period running average, 3,500 of those have reduced their price. A third of them. That's a telltale sign right there. Brandon says, buy an electric car, problem solved. Well, Terry, buy 2 and say one of them's from me. So yeah, Jackie says we have 2 right now with contingencies. You couldn't have written that 2 months ago. Nobody would have had any interest in that or any interest in accepting a contingency. Because now you got to wait for that home to sell, and it's sometimes you end up with a contingency on top of a contingency. Their house that they're selling, they accept a contingent offer. You don't want anything to do with that. I agree on buying electric vehicle. Speed solves everything. Some of those go pretty fast. I had a Volkswagen when I was in high school. It was a 1960 red VW, and we had a hill called Cherry Hill where I went. It was a pretty steep hill. You go up and you go around the corner, and you could make it up there in your Volkswagen, no problem. But we just decided to see how many people it would take in my Volkswagen to not be able to make it up the hill. And that's 5. And we had to get a run at it. We just anyway, digress. A motorcycle might become the norm. Boy, not here, Tyler. I had a motorcycle for a long time. I had a Yamaha 650, and this time of year I couldn't stand to put the helmet on. You put it on, you're just sweating. You get to where you're at, you're dripping wet, and it's great if you can be tooling around up in the White Mountains, get out of the summer heat. But then you're in the middle of monsoon season, so the only time to safely ride a motorcycle down here is in the spring and in the winter. So Harry gave a thumbs up. It's great. Good to see you, Harry. I have a bike. I have an electric bike. I don't even want to ride that today. It's just too warm. And those are kind of fun. How many of you have ridden an electric bike? Have you tried it? Or is it just an old man thing? So, hey, do me a favor too, when you're in the chat box, just tell me what state you're from. Because I think 16% of my audience is from California, but one of our viewers I know is in Italy. So just put that down in the chat and let me know. Do you think people will back out of their new builds due to the change in rates? Yeah, I think a lot of them will. And these new builds, they're not being very cooperative. They got kind of cocky. Arizona, Ohio, cool. Washington, moving to Arizona in 20 days. Outstanding. What part of Washington, Romy? And then we got Arizona. Yeah, I think new construction is going to start getting a little ugly. People are getting their rates jacked up. And, the new builders, they've been able to control the narrative all the time and say, oh, by the way, in the contract, we have the right to raise the price 30 days before closing. And then you got to use their finance company. And it can be very tough, not toughy. What the heck's that word? We have a lot of electric scooters in the city. What city is that? That must be San Diego. Or is that Scottsdale? Canadian, chilling in AZ, past 6 years full time. Renton, Washington. All right, well, say hello to my nephew Nathan up there. And then I have another nephew that works for, what is it called, Black and Tan Brewery up there? Or is it? Yeah, I think it's Black and Tan. I always screw up the name. You've got a brewery there in Renton. Help me out there. Jackie says, I'm hearing many new builds. Fearful rates will eliminate them by the time closing come around. Make sure you have representation with a new build, especially now. Yeah, but you can't get representation until your first visit, and you have to go in with your agent. So, make that step, because understanding that contract can be pretty tricky. Signed a 1-year lease in Phoenix, April, a month waiting this market out. Next year, hopefully can get more bang for the buck. Don't want to rent again. And mind is set. So that moved up there. I had a hard time reading that for a second. Let's see. I'm missing it. Anyway, Rick, come to the dark side. Buy a Tesla. No, Terry lived in Renton too. Terry, you actually lived in my hometown, I think, for a while there, up there. Will new builds pricing get completely redone with lumber? Lumber prices are down, but everything else is still up. Cement is still up. There's still a cement shortage. There's all kinds of shortages still in appliances. And so they're going to be forced to lower prices just based on demand as more and more get completed. So we're going to start seeing some downward pressure in new builds, I think, way before you see it in the resale market. PA on Cherry Hill. If I think you said you only lived there a few months. I had a friend that lived up there, and they were called the Howells, and their family had 13 kids, and they were all blonde. So we used to just say, if you see a blonde walking on Cherry Street, it's probably a Howell. And so my nephew lives there in Renton and works at a brewery, and he tells a story about when they have to make up a beer. So you write everything down at every step. He told his dad, this is going to taste awful. And it tasted so good, they bottled it. So you just never know. We got Gilbert, Wenatchee, Washington. All right. That's part of my old stomping ground. Born there. No, Terry says born there in Port Angeles. All right. You survived the Port Angeles Hospital. Enough home talk, people. So tell me what you think real estate is going to look like at the end of this summer. I'll give you 3 choices. Balanced market, closed sales down versus last year, or about the same. I vote balanced market. At the rate that we're going, we're going to be in a balanced market equal between buyers and sellers by Labor Day, if not sooner. So we're at, what did I say? We're something like 11,000 homes now on the market, 12,000, and we're going up at about 1,000 a week. That puts you at a balanced market by by Labor Day. Running at altitude says balanced market. I think so. I think there's no doubt about it. If I just look at active listings on the medium term here, and I take a peek, you can see it shows us at 94.51. That's actually last Saturday. So today we're at 12. So we're going to be up here. So to get to a balanced market, we're going to have to be at about 20,000. So I think we can get close to doubling between now and September at the rate that we're doing it. Slightly overbalanced with demand at 70. Could be balanced based on how fast we're coming down. I don't know a single person looking anymore for a house. Actually, you know, the interesting thing is my web traffic has increased. The amount of people signing up on my website has increased. Now I'm getting a lot of home evaluations that people want. So there's a lot of people out there thinking about listing their homes, but I'm getting people signing up and looking at homes several times a day. A balanced market, what price per square foot are you predicting? I don't know. I think in a balanced market, wherever we end up in August will be where we're at in September. So price per square foot depends on the price range and the market. And so balanced market does not mean that the price per square foot is going to come down from today's levels. It's going to have to flip. So we're going to have more inventory than we do buyers at a huge scale. Lake Stevens, Washington. All right. That used to be part of my sales territory when I was up there with Or Wheat Bread. Gustavo, what are you telling your clients when they see so many YouTubers talking about a market crash, not talking about you? Love your channel. Thank you. I ask for the data. I mean, if they're talking about a market crash, look at it and see what are you seeing that says a crash. Are you just telling me that there's going to be a crash, or are you looking at numbers? In other words, are they showing you the rate of inventory and the decline of sales and making a decision based on history, or are they just blurting it out? I mean, I know one individual just blurts it out. You're going to be down 40%, and he talks in broad economic terms, but I don't know where that 40% number comes from. I'd like to. I've asked him. I've actually asked him to be on this show twice, and he ignores us. I think you know who I'm talking about. And there's a couple others out there where I think it's impossible to predict a number. It really is. It's highly probable is what I'm trying to spit out here, that by the end of the summer, the number of price reductions will probably decrease because people will start out of the gate more realistically when they are now. Does that make sense? So, cough, cough. Yep. FOMO is real, balanced market with a correction. And what I mean, like right now you're seeing 3,500 price reductions, right? Why is that? Well, people said, I think I can get this. I bet by August, people are no longer going to say, I'm going to test the market, I think I can get this. They will have gotten the message by then, and they will price more realistically to market expectations, and there won't be the need for price reductions. So, as an example, I'm going to sell my house for $800,000 now. Whoop, that didn't work. I got to go down to $750,000. That other person that's going to list in August is probably going to say, well, I'll start at $750,000. That way I don't have to reduce my price later. And I think all of this hinges on interest rates. And, the market right now is assuming and already has the numbers factored in that, this week the Fed will announce a 50 basis point increase. The bond market reacted poorly because of the inflation data. And seeing homes being resold at 20% market 1 year after purchase is not reasonable. Seeing a lot of that, but they're getting it. So, have you seen a change in buyers since the cough? No. I think that actually made buyers come out of the woodwork. They were in apartment complexes where the break room or not the break room, the pool's shut down, the gym, the community center. And they said, well, why am I living here? Starting to see more reasonably priced homes and less outrageous. There is, I think I made the comment yesterday, I can't stand the commercials that say, they got me $50,000 more than what my house was worth. Well, your house was worth $50,000 more because that's what you were offered. That's the market price. The market price is not the number that you and your agent came up with. That's an estimate. That's a ballpark based on historical data. The actual market price is what somebody offered you. That's the market price. So don't say, I got $50,000 more. More than what? So if it's more than the other offer you got, great. But the market price is just a number that, you said, oh, I think I can sell it for this. And it says, I agree with starting to see more reasonably priced homes. Jackie says, I still have a few, let's see, I think we're missing a couple digits here. Quantitative tightening might do to the stock market, hence affecting our upper end market, which remains strong. Yeah, quantitative tightening, which we tried to address that the other day on our Thursday news show. And basically all it is quantitative easing is the central banks just made getting money easier. That's the short example. By they can just add digits onto their balance sheet, and that gives more reserves for the banks. And when they have more reserves, they have more money to lend. Therefore, the interest rates are lower. Money starts circulating out into the market, and it's circulated like crazy. Well, quantitative easing is the opposite of that. And they, I'm going to try and pull up a chart here. It's the opposite of that, where they're going to say, well, let's bring some of that money back. And that's obviously going to have an effect where it raises interest rates. So they want to reduce their balance sheet. But their balance sheet right now is $9 trillion. And you can see it with our money stock that we have out there. Did you see inflation numbers came out Friday? Yeah, inflation numbers came out, and they're higher than anybody expected. And the stock market tanked, and the bond market raised interest rates like there was no tomorrow. This is velocity of money, M2. The amount of money that's in the system, in your checking account, in the bond market, in stocks. This is how much money's out there. And it's starting to finally come down just a little bit. But the interesting thing is there's called velocity of money. Are people spending it? It's all out there. And they stopped right here during, in 2020. Obviously, everybody stayed home. They stopped spending it. And we're not seeing it go up. Saw it go up a little bit. And that's so the thing when you're looking at inflation, normally you would see this number just higher than a kite, but we're not seeing that. We're seeing inflation just because of lack of supply of everything, and including gas. Oh, Tyler. Not sure. Yeah. Paul Volcker rug pull with double-digit interest rates? I hope not. Paul Volcker, for those of you who don't know, he was the Fed chairman when Jimmy Carter and Reagan were president, about a quarter of the way through Reagan's terms, and he always had a cigar, and he just raised rates like there was no end in sight and got it up to about 17%. I think it's abundantly clear that the Fed is going to have to really tamp down on economic activity when you start seeing inflation running at rates that we haven't seen since 1981. They're going to do it, and they're going to do it hard. But even when they did it really hard back then, the financing just got more creative, and guys like me were still able to get into a house. So I didn't see house prices crash. And by a crash, I define a crash of anything over 30%. The Fed has been head spinning. Don't believe what they tell you. Now, Alan Greenspan, the Fed chairman, he was great at having these long-winded sentences, and you really had no idea what he said. And he did that on purpose. He didn't want to telegraph what moves he was going to make. He didn't want to spook the market or encourage the market. The only time he said anything about the market was when he was talking about housing, and he said that we were irrationally exuberant, and that spooked people. And then, but the recession was caused by housing because of the bad loans that were out there, and that causes huge liquidity market, starting with Lehman Brothers. And so B&G, no soft landing. I don't know how they pull it off. I don't. I'm not an economist, though, so I just can watch the numbers and take a look at the Arizona real estate numbers and try to see where they're headed. That's all I can do. I think there's too much reliance by the public for real estate agents to tell them where the market's headed in 1 or 2 years. We have no expertise in that area. All we have is access to data that you may not have. But every day there's new sites out there that can help you get the data. I just hope to kind of condense it a little bit here for you. I can't find my glasses. Jackie, I'm afraid you can't see the keyboard. I can't. They do bring up 2008 a lot. I tell them that there was a lot of mortgage fraud back then. 2008 crash was not caused because prices went up too fast. It was caused because of the terrible, terrible loan products, and people were able to buy it without even having a job. Back then, loan officers were actually making up jobs, making up companies. ABC company, and it has 15 employees, and they make an average of this, and Bob's been working there for 2 years. And they would just submit that, and the underwriters would go, okay. You also had appraisers. You could call appraisers back then, and you could say, hey, I need to get 320 for this house. You got it. And they would make it work. Now, you don't even know who the appraiser is. You just saw till the day of. Jim's going out to appraise the property. Here's his phone number. Will be there at 11 o'clock. You can leave some comps on the table for him to take a look at, but everything's going to be arm's length. The lender that's requesting the appraisal has no contact with him. He puts it into a service, an appraisal service, and they assign a person, and out they go. So those days of calling the appraiser and going, hey, I need 500, they're toast. My new build will close on August 16th. What's the best time to list my current house for rent? Peoria. I'd have to look at what the vacancy rate is in Peoria, but I still think it's below 5%. So you're closing in August. Are you trying to be out and only move once? I would list in real soon and then ask for a flexible lease back. In other words, if it's going to take 3 weeks to sell your home, you're already in July, and then it's going to take 30 days to close, and it's almost August. So I'd consider getting that on the market right away. You got to give yourself a cushion. If somebody offers you home tomorrow, and then tell the agent, you want a contingency. Get a hold of Jackie. Let her help you with that. She's up in that area. So Jackie, get with Sharat. Am I saying the name right? Sharat? Yeah, Jackie would love to take that for you. She lives up there, and she can help you get work through that timing. Terry, recession is when your neighbor loses his job. Depression is when you lose your job. That's a Ronald Reagan quote right there for sure. Those of us OGs know. Timing is tough right now. A lot of people are trying to time their sale of their house or their new build, and that part is actually the easy part. But then you got the builder calling, going, hey, oops, yeah, hey, that sheetrock didn't show up yet, so we got to push out another week. Oh, hey, that glass for the bathroom, it's on back order. We didn't get that, and there's just one delay after another. I was selling a townhome, I think it was 4 years ago, and maybe not even that long, and they kept having delays, and she had no patience with it. She was buying it for her son who was going to school, and I'd call the builder and go, hey, what's the holdup? Well, we were waiting for this glass for the shower, and when it got here, it was broken, so we had to order it, and it was delayed. And she says, it's out of our control, but we've tried to tell her, and she wouldn't answer she's, I'm done talking to you people. I didn't even know if she was going to close. But finally, somehow she just closed. If she could do it all digitally, she signed off and everything. But she got so mad. I was representing her. She wouldn't answer my phone calls. She told her son not to talk to me, told him not to talk to anybody at the sales center, but yet she still bought the place. So some people get pretty worked up. It's pretty interesting to watch. I don't blame them. It's hard. It's hard to do all that timing right now. But I tell you what, it's as the builders finally get some relief in supplies, eventually, I hope, then maybe we'll see some of this timing get better. But remember, the port of Shanghai was shut down for almost a month. It takes a long time for that to wiggle out. Now, we get a lot of stuff from Shanghai. Get a lot of stuff from Taiwan. There's a lot of chips that go into a house these days, a lot of materials. And so that whole shipping system's bottlenecked. Until that loosens up, I don't see building, being able to complete things. That's why used car prices are going back up again. Because new cars are hard to find, except for that Tesla that you want, right? But even him, he's behind. I found you from Dan's channel. Already learned something from you. The Cromford Indicator. Thanks. Yeah, I tell you what, if you're a real estate agent and you're not subscribing to the Cromford Index to get this data is exclusive to Arizona. And you can just involve yourself in, look at all these choices that we have. I can get analysis by topic, active listings, appreciation, contract ratio. I want to look at the contract ratios here. How many homes listed are going under contract? It's dropping like a rock. The ratio's down to 108. I can take a look and look by zip code and extremes and foreclosures. And let's see, foreclosures pending. Let's see what that looks like right now. It's a great big white sheet. No, nothing came up. I think the last time I checked, we had 340, something like that. Back during the bad economy in the 80s, bad layoffs, they called me an optimist when I brought my lunch to work. Yeah, I packed the lunch too. In the 80s, you pinched pennies wherever you could. I had bought a condo with $3,400 down, and it was really close to where I worked. And then I got married, and in order to save the marriage, I figured we couldn't live in 598 square feet for too long. So we bought a house, and we bought it from my wife's cousin, who helped carry back some of the down payment. So we were able to use that as a down payment, and then we had another brother-in-law and sister-in-law that were in the mortgage business, and they put it together for me. Unfortunately, my ex-wife knew nothing about real estate. She had no concept of how hard the process was. She thought all we had to do was sign the papers that we were going to buy it, and it was all done. Well, at the end of that, she figured out it was not. I used to say it's not over till the fat lady sings. We don't own this house yet. Oh, we did. We signed the papers. No, it doesn't work that way. Got to get approved. Rick, does a balanced market affect luxury homes differently? Jackie, what do you think? I think it does. Luxury homes go down in the summer seasonally anyway. People don't fly out here in July and August. The stock market tends to affect the luxury market way more than interest rates. So, but if we do find higher, it all boils down to supply and demand. And right now in our luxury markets, there hasn't been any supply. So if that kicks up, then yes, it'll start affecting the luxury market. They said I wouldn't have a job by lunchtime. I was an optimist. So I think looking forward, here's what I want you to concentrate on. I really want you to look at the number of available listings in your price range that you're looking at. Like we started out here today, and Terry said that listings have exploded in the price range between 400 and 600,000. And if they're exploding right now, that's still taking off. Looks to me like it's going to be the first price range that you're going to see potential for. First you're going to see the price reductions in the asking price. Then you may see the actual closed values start to come down a little bit. And let's see. I want to show this one. They were going to hide it for some reason. You pay for the Cromford Report, or even better, subscribe to Rick Helps. Appreciate that. Yeah, subscribe here. I'll share it with you. If you're they do have a Cromford Public, but I mean, the average Joe, who wants to pay a monthly subscription just to look at this wonky data like I do? So it's something to consider. So, well, I hope everybody enjoyed this morning, and let's do it again. I'll give you a little more notice. We'll see if we can have another Q&A. In the meantime, boy, stay cool out there. I think, what's it supposed to be today? 114, I think they were saying. And I'm just not in the mood for that.